And it's now going to be about who can stand up on song. We find ourselves perfectly equidistant between Rochester and Syracuse here in upstate New York. Welcome to the shores of Seneca Lake and welcome to Watkins Glen International. This is your Americas region as we reach the halfway stage of the season, round 3 of 5, where we have got to get the report cards out. I'm Jake Sperry, that's Joe Peak, bringing you all of today's coverage. And Joe, my goodness, if we thought that Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez was an absolute fight and a brawl, this is going to be more of the same.
Yeah, exactly. This is a track that promotes a lot of racing and close racing as well, with a powerful slipstream up these long straightaways. So I expect that this is going to give us quite a bit more of what we've been seeing so far this season in the Americas region.
It absolutely will, and so they have got a lot to think about in terms of how they look to put their season together, and they are going to do that through the wonderful way of how this series is put. Here's a little video to get you up to speed.
Welcome to the Porsche Esports Supercup, the virtual one-make series with some of the fastest drivers in the world, where every lap matters and every mistake can end your season. With all drivers in the same car, tackling the same conditions, an exciting format, a brilliant prize, and the chance to make the jump from the virtual track to the real one for a full season. There are 2 ways in: official Porsche National Championships and Global Open qualifiers, where 4 race weeks will decide who rises, with the fastest drivers advancing. The regional championship will be comprised of races across 4 regions. Drivers go head-to-head across multiple rounds, but only the fastest move on. Drivers will compete across 5 full race weekends, but at the end, only 1 driver can claim the title of World Champion, along with the cash prize. From this pool of drivers, a select few will be chosen for the next stage. The talent shootout is not just another test, it is a chance to prove you belong in real-world racing. Here, every corner counts. Every decision is judged, and only the driver with the speed, composure, and potential to step into a real race car will stand out. Is that you?
Well, it could be any one of them, but it was all about, could it be you, to avoid all of the carnage of the opening laps at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Joe, just the sense of what everyone needed. Everyone felt very nervous jumping into it, and there was a lot of pushing and shoving at a circuit that naturally has a lot of overtaking opportunities. How Bruno de Carmo avoided everyone there, I have no idea still.
I get the sense that the intensity has ramped up from the first race to the second race, and like I said, I think it's only going to do the same when we get to the third. As you can see, it was a bit messy at times. Unfortunately, a safe rejoin, one of the core lessons you really need to learn, and apparently some drivers hadn't quite internalized it yet. But the other thing is we saw a lot of the curbs cause problems at this track. Despite it being a top-tier world circuit, there are still some very aggressive curbing portions that can mess up the cars, but also some amazing 3-wide racing. And there's some places I didn't think they could even fit 3-wide cars around here. Ultimately, though, it gave us with a runaway win once again with Coanda, who seemed to be the dominant force in this series.
Yeah, but it was roles reversed, where we had it being Xander Reed at the season opener. There you can see Mitchell de Jong getting his 1-2, which he did 4 times in Porsche Esports Carrera Cup North America to put the mark on Xander Reed. But it's a 1-2-3 for Coanda in the championship right now, with Reed, de Jong and Rankin all there at the top. Miguel Costa in fourth and Sean Campbell quietly there in fifth. But it is a very close fight for the bubble, with Augustin Talashi there in seventh behind Gustavo Ariel, and Dino Filippa 1 point to the good over Ralph Benitez. The biggest loser in all of that was Gabriel Moretto. He took 20 points of deduction. He went from being 8 points in, Joe, coming into today, to being 12 points outside.
With only 5 rounds, you can't afford those bad races. As soon as you start to fall behind, you have so little chance to try and catch back up. So, yeah, I think that is one that he's going to look back on. If he misses out on those top 8, that's where he could probably pinpoint, I could have done better.
Absolutely, there is certainly an opportunity and an understanding right now that everyone has got to try and set themselves up and say, look, this is their day. Everyone, I would argue, has to go and ready up, because there is one dominant story here in America's, Joe. It's Coanda.
Yeah, Coanda have been the ones that have been controlling things. We saw that a lot in Carrera Cup North America as well. But I think that's something that puts a target on their back on top of things. So they can't really relax. That's the unfortunate thing. As soon as you become the dominant force, then suddenly the heavy is the crown that the king wears. You've really got to keep up that pace, keep that performance up, or else everybody is going to be pouncing on it immediately. And I think that's what we're seeing with a lot of the aggression happening out there. They know that they can't waste any opportunities because Coanda is just going to walk all over them if they don't.
Yeah, and they're good in 3 regions at the moment. Also great in Europe, also great in the Australasian region as well. And this is going to be a series where we say, look, there are going to be ups and there are going to be downs. So you look at the drivers who are on the down, how do they recover that? The drivers on the up, Joe, well, how do they keep a hold of it here?
Well, practice is one thing, and that's the beauty of sim racing, is you have lots of chances for practice. We see drivers that put in countless hours to do that. But even if you do all that, there are things that can happen in the race that are out of your control. And I think that's the big thing. How do you react to those situations? Those are the drivers that we're seeing that are having those good moments in spite of things going awry. So that's the difference, I think, between these ups and downs that we are seeing between these different drivers. Some of them just will roll with the punches and be able to come out adapting to what is thrown their way. But of course, we've got other stories coming up for this one as well, as we see the first corner down into the 90 going to be one of those that is a big part of it. The Loctite race analysis, Jake, a 30-minute, very fast race to try and get all this done.
Absolutely, a standing start for all these drivers, so they've got to get it up into gear quickly, and no planned pit stop. So if you're down in pit lane coming off of the final corner, you know something's gone horribly wrong out there for you. Now, Joe, let's take a look at your TDK track analysis. Watkins Glen, for those in Americas, this is a circuit that has seen amazing running for well over 60 to 70 years. It's held IMSA, it holds NASCAR, it has held Formula One in its time, and it is one of the fastest circuits in the US.
It's one of the classics on any calendar you want to get to visit. Nearly 3.5 miles in length. It's pretty long, but very few corners. Only 11 of them, as you can see. It's been around since '56, so it's got a lot of history behind it, but it has been modernized quite a bit, and we'll be watching drivers on that one, as there's a number of runoffs where you don't necessarily want to go wide because you might find the sim giving you a slowdown, asking you to give that time back. More importantly, those powder blue walls that you can see right there, Jake, they are there to collect you if you overstep the bounds.
Armco barriers, as old school as it gets, and they do not forgive and they do not forget around here. If you want to learn more about the Porsche Esports Super Cup and the way to get yourself into position for it, not just for this year, for next, scan the QR code that is there on screen. You can get more information about everything that is Porsche Esports Super Cup for you. So they are looking to get themselves ready in just a moment's time to put themselves into position. And Joe, I think the biggest key is going to be, well, what does qualifying position actually get you around here? Especially when you consider from here, you've got Miami, and from Miami, you've got Interlagos.
Yeah, we'll talk about that qualifying position in a bit, but we've got very different tracks for the next couple. Miami, effectively a street circuit of types that we're going to be switching off to. Should be an interesting one with a lot of walls on the outside there, but also a very technical track. Then you look at Interlagos, where it's kind of a mix of the two, but it's a traditional circuit as well. So a purpose-built circuit and a very well-loved one that especially our South American drivers are going to be extremely familiar with. Something that they haven't gotten up until that point, which is a home court advantage. We'll see if that plays into them when we get to that point. You talked about the importance of the track position, the qualifying. I think here at Watkins Glen, Jake, you definitely want to be up at the front to avoid the chaos, but the good news is you can pass here.
You absolutely can, and your TDK pole lap is here on board with Xander Reed, who banks 10 championship points into his back pocket. He has now scored 28 out of a possible 30 then for maximum from qualifying. Through the 90, you can use all of the runoff area that you want on the outside, and now you look to climb the S's here. Turns 2, 3 here the left. Very easy to catch the wall on the outside if you're not careful, and immediately into 4, which eases up to the highest section of the circuit, trying to find your braking point then on the left-hand side for the bus stop here. This right big hard left over the massive rainbow curves, and then back for the right for the outer loop, where normally if you're running an ASCAR style, you'll just go all the way back round. But here, no, we're going to take the classic boot and down Joe into the chute.
This is where the elevation just drops away. You are plunging this entire time. The chute, one of the more punishing corners. You don't want to lose it there because you're not going to be able to save it out of the barrier to the outside. Possible chance to try and pass into the toe of the boot, but honestly, I would save it for the exit. Get a good run up here. Keep your momentum up, because this is a decently long straight, and we'll often see good passing opportunities into the heel of the boot. That said, it's very single file through this corner. And then, of course, you definitely got to get it lined up in time for turn 9. This is the trickiest on the track, one of the slowest. It's off camber, and the car just does not want to turn until suddenly it's going to get oversteery. Penultimate turn, a lot of banking here, very fast, but now that it's got the paved runoff, you do have a lot of space to save you. You don't have that in the final corner, Jake. It is like a street circuit with that barrier right to the outside, but that is how you do a lap around here.
And a wonderful lap indeed, a 1:45.181, and Coanda have said we are not messing around today. We're going to be right up there, because Reed and de Jong are on your front row with Gustavo Ariel for Verstappen Sim Racing third, and Elvis Rankin there in fourth. Hadi Noah Mamasi looking for his first big good run of the season. He starts fifth with Francisco Camillo. Then in sixth, Gabriel Moretto for Blue Mercure is seventh, and then Sean Campbell finds himself in 8th place. Row 5 sees Dino Filippa and Felipe Dantas, with Dalton Zavadil for Fiercely Forward, and Thibaut Courtois Esports is Augustin Tolashi there in 12th. It's then Flavio Dantas and Rodrigo Abral for Hardline Racing Team. Ralph Benitez then with Leandro Lanzendorf, one of 2 drivers still on minus points in the championship. Eric Goldner is 17th with William Augustine 18th, as Noah Wing finds himself out of position in 19th, with Fidel Moreira making up your 20. Neto Nascimento and Felipe Juliato make up the 22, with Jackson Rosenda and Victor Veloso then 23rd and 24th, which leads us to the final 5 with Daniel Molina, Bruno De Carmo there with the G923. Then you got Achilles Giannis, Louis Shermer and Esteban Adriano, your 29 then, that will be looking to challenge here today at Watkins Glen. So big points on the horizon, big opportunities to try and score. And critically, it's not just about the run into turn 1, it's about the run all the way up to turn number 4 as you go through the S's and over towards that bus stop. Reed and de Jong, a tale as old as time at the front. Let's get ourselves then ready here from Watkins Glen, because it's all about now saying, how is my mid-season form? We are underway, and it's a pretty clean getaway from the front 3 rows. Maybe Francisco Camillo slightly slow, but into the 90 they're going to be 1 and 2, and Gustavo Ariel immediately into the side of Mitchell de Jong, pushing him out wide, has to get back across to cover the line, and he is being swarmed off of the get-go, trying to hold back both de Jong and Elvis Rankin. Perfect start for Zandarin. He's gone, but it's Ariel versus the world.
Yeah, he is having to push through the crowd on this one. Did a very good job getting himself up into P2. Obviously wants that track position early. How about Mamasi back in there? He's going to try and get involved in some of those Coanda cars as well. Thankfully, looking like it's very single file this first time through the inner loop.
Big issues at the back. Ralph Benitez has been caught up. Louis Schirmer has got himself in trouble as well. So a couple cars at the back that got caught on through there, Joe. But critically, you look at this right now, it's Reed, Ariel, de Jong, Rankin, and then the Canadian Mamasi making up your top five. The front have played ball.
They've done a very good job, but we've been talking a lot about this off air. The Americas region is so aggressive. It seems like you have got to get your elbows out if you want to be competitive in this group, and we saw that at the very first corner of this race. Meanwhile, big attack down into the braking of the heel of the boot as the mid-pack going very hard at it, and that's Nascimento in there that is leading this group, and it looks like he is going to manage to get himself up to 18th as he follows Morera in 17th.
Oh, big contact between Rosenda and Noah Wing. Wing's going to be the one who loses out through turn 10. Daniel Molina picks up a freebie for it. That's how quick you can go from hero to zero. As you can see, this wonderful camera on top of the safer barrier showing you the absolute ornate speed that these Porsche 992.2 Cup cars are able to go and generate. But we go back up to the front of the field where it is now Mitchell de Jong keeping close eyes on Gustavo Ariel and Elvis Rankin. And Joe, I question you on aggressiveness, because it doesn't matter whether you're first or you're 8th in this championship. If you're inside top 8, you're in the next phase.
Yeah, which is why I kind of wonder, they are fighting so hard at times. Critically, I'm noticing, look at the gap between Reed and Ariel. He has used this to his advantage in a big way. Having this big of a gap on lap 2 is not very common in this series. So he has managed to really give himself a leg up over his Coanda teammates, especially with that gap of Ariel buffering. Sounds like we got a replay and the 22 car involved in this one. It looked to me kind of like what I was talking about. You don't want to go too wide through here. You could see there's that little bit of touch that started things off, and then it trickles backwards. And unfortunately, those coming in behind just were trying to avoid as best they could, but eventually ran out of track.
Yeah, nowhere for Louis Schirmer. He just went straight into the back there of, I believe that would have been Ralph Benitez, who ended up unlucky. Augustin Tolashi, then from Thibaut Courtois Esports, caught up with it. But the key on the opening lap is he found himself 3 wide in a 2 wide corner at best. And that's something that Watkins Glen often brings on the opening laps, Joe, is that you get put into some very uncomfortable situations.
You need to keep your wits about you, that is for sure. Some of them maybe just pushing the limit a little bit too hard, but at least for the most part, everybody manages to get away with this one. This is a little bit of a pack forming. This is 12th on back. Felipe Dantas, I should clarify, is leading Torlashi, Flavio Dantas, Lazendorf, and Leandro Lazendorf. He needs a good finish. He has not had a good season to start things off.
No, he really hasn't. He's in the minus, and he'd love to get to the plus and start gaining points and really making moves. But for the moment, it is brother's bread at the moment in this Torlashi sandwich right now that is being served up to you, ladies and gentlemen, as they now start working back down for the chute. And really understanding here that they've got to try and follow and find the ways to go through lots of long parabolic style corners around this circuit, Joe. That's not conducive for a big chuck down the inside. You've got to hold the momentum and drive it off the exit strong.
It's very old school, not just because of the close barriers, but because there's banking. Not something you see a lot of in road courses built these days. So glad that it's retained that character. But like you said, it does mean that you can defend in kind of unusual ways when you get side by side through some of these corners. Not this one through turn 9, where it's the opposite. so far. The twins doing decently well, looking like two of them in the top 14.
Yeah, and they're both there, not a million miles away from each other either. Just Augustin Talashi between them. It is Felipe Dantas, the number 13 car, who is ahead. Flavio Dantas, the number 16, who is behind. And they both have a little checkup. Even their mannerisms out there when they come out of the corners, Joe, exactly the same.
I love that our team behind the scenes even had their own moments. They had to switch the cameras around because they didn't realize they had the brothers in the wrong positions. But this is one of those critical corners. You were talking about it earlier, out of the 90 and up the hill. Your exit out of that first corner will set up so long. They're still experiencing the effects from it all the way up to here at the top of the hill to try and set yourself up for a pass into the inner loop. Unfortunately, not quite enough braking that you can outbrake someone into there, but you can definitely get yourself side by side enough that you can try and sneak through as we head back up to the battle amongst the top 5.
Yeah, they're all scrapping it out at the moment. Heidi Norman Marcy is one of them who wants to get involved. Then you've got Gabriel Moretto, then for Blue Mercure. And just behind them, Francisco Camillo in the number 7 as we take a look on board with Heidi Norman Marcy here for gridandgo.com. Esports having a good look around is Heidi Noah at this moment in time, and he's looking to get himself ready. You can always tell the mark of a driver by how many trophies are in the back of shot.
Yeah, ready to show off that hardware. Down 17th in points, and based on his position today, you can guess that he also really needs some results to get himself back into the hunt. Remember, it's the top 8 in points that these drivers are aiming for. The Canadian doing the best he can to probably just hang up here for now, maybe go for slightly more aggressive moves later, but I think hanging out behind these two Coanda cars, not the worst thing in the world. You can see him watching those mirrors as he comes off the turns just to make sure those behind him aren't getting any closer than they are now.
Well, the mid-pack here really getting busy into the final corner, trying to drive off with aggressiveness then is Victor Veloso, as you've got Achilles Giannis, Felipe Juliato looking for the inside. You've got William Augustin as well, hoping to try and get involved in the battle here with Esteban Adriano. They will climb the hill and look for their opportunities now through 2 to 3 and then up over the rise then for turn number 4. How do you want to find this overtake? Juliato looking to the outside. It's defended by Giannis then as they try and work forward. And now you've got the question, do you stick or twist here? And the answer is, well, I'm going to stick if I'm Felipe Juliato, try and get my run elsewhere.
Achilles will retain that 24th spot, at least for the time being. 4 cars nose to tail out of the outer loop and then back downhill into the chute once again. That is Veloso in front of them and Armo, who are not too far away, so hopefully they'll be able to get back in and try and fight for that. Francisco Camilo, in the meantime, kind of on his lonesome, not completely. He's also within range. He could catch up to that top 6, or at least that group of 4 in front of him. But he's also trying to keep Sean Campbell behind him, who's dealing with his own pressure from Dino Filippa. So it's all a mix of drivers here in the early stages, up at the top, trying to kind of manage the situation since things aren't getting too frantic yet.
And you've got to remember, Francisco Camillo, he is 16 years of age as he is out there and driving. Sim racers seem to get younger and younger as they go out there and go. He's a runner-up in the Brazilian karting championships and someone who, at his best, has beaten the likes of Diogo Pinto head-to-head in competition.
And you're in rare air when you're doing that for sure. So, yeah, he is going to be one to watch out for if he is beating guys like Pinto here in the sim. We check in on Sean Campbell, another driver that worked his way into this doing some impressive feats. The only other driver to manage to take a win in the Carrera Cup earlier this year. So he's done a thing a few other drivers have only managed to do in recent time, beating Mitchell de Jong and, of course, Xander Reed, who we mentioned took a win in the first round at Sebring, but not looking likely to do that today as we check a little bit farther back in this fight amongst some of our W2 cars. This is for 15th position, and Lanzendorf doing okay for now, up 1 from where he started. At least managed to keep himself out of trouble this time, but don't think he's going to get many points unless he starts making some inroads.
No, he's going to need moves, and the issue he's had on that last lap, he did a 1:45.9, Dantas 45.9, Tolashi 45.9, 45.8s then, and 7s. The group are incrementally getting slightly quicker and quicker and quicker, and this is the issue that you're starting to find. You're either on the train or you are off it here at Watkins Glen. All aboard.
Yeah, a lot of these trains starting to form. That's one of the things we've talked about with this car getting recent updates and not having as powerful of a slipstream as it used to have. It looks like it is quite tough as Morera was bad off the corner, and look at how much he's suffering because of that. That is looking like a slam dunk pass by Neto. No, not quite. He's going to come back on him, and deep into the corner, they're banging doors as they come off the exit of it. Now it's a drag race up the hill.
This could be move at the race here for Trilux as we take a look at this. What a pass up the top. Neto Nascimento had to work hard for that, but it's still not done because Fidel Morera can go and chuck it back. Big move over to the right-hand side. Nascimento tried to throw the block. He did just enough to do it. That is hard-nosed elbows out.
Yeah, it was a little late, but I think it was still within the boundaries as they come back around the outer loop once again. Neto up to 17th with that move. Now he's got to set his sights on Goldner there in P16, about a second and a half up the road. That'll take a bit to try and cut that down. When you're at this level, the margins are so small between the drivers, Jake. Making up a second and a half takes quite a while of consistency.
Oh, it absolutely does, and it's something that almost you need to find a case of hours upon hours to find that extra 10th at this level. As this is for third right now, De Jong, Rankin, Hedino Mamasi, Gabriel Moretto. That's how they go. And actually, I want to talk about Moretto here in 6th place. This is the perfect response race for him. Head down, decent points, don't fight anyone.
Yeah. With him in 12th, another one that needs to start climbing upwards. But talking about that second and a half difference, how tough that's going to be back farther in the pack. What about up at the top? 1.8 seconds between De Jong and Ariel. I'm kind of surprised that Mitchell has not been able to catch up more. He's usually one of the fastest drivers in iRacing in just about every car that you put him in. That tells you how quick Reed and Ariel are today, that they have gapped those two Coanda drivers to that degree.
Yeah, they've done absolutely epic. Here's a look at Gabriel Moretto here on the back, focusing their Formula-style steering wheel that he's got available to him, really fighting the car over the top of the curves. It's clear that he's got a lot of force feedback available to him, and that's what drivers love. The lumps and bumps, it gives them more information from what they feel out there, through their hands, up through their arms, to the synapses of their brain.
Yeah, remember, you don't have the G-forces of a real car to tell you what it's doing. So that's why you see some of these drivers sometimes crank up the force feedback so that they can feel every little bit, know exactly how the car is behaving underneath them, so that you don't have to rely strictly on your ears or your eyes to know how it is sliding around, because it's always going to be sliding around just a little bit, as we see a tiny one there from Mamasi coming off of turn 8. Doesn't cost him too much, thankfully. You can get away with that, but another aspect that these drivers do have to be concerned with is managing those tires. Even over this short race, Jake, 101 Fahrenheit on the track surface, you can burn them up if you use it too early.
Very, very hot then. Dino Filippa then for SDR, the Argentine wanting to get involved. He's 9th, and this is critical as he looks around at Sean Campbell, who's gone through on Francisco Camillo in the last couple of laps. He's quietly gone about and actually managed to do that. This would be a very important pass. He's currently looking to get to +1, but all importantly to 8th place. And if you can consistently score 8th place points, Joe, that's the way you get in.
Yeah, I mean, if you stay above that cut line on your finishes, yeah, it's kind of an easier way to do the math on that front. Speaking of moving above lines, I was just looking at our hard chargers. Most positions gained today is 4. It is nothing like what we saw at Mexico City because we had that huge accident. They kept it clean. So this time around, those who started at the back are actually suffering because they had such a clean race here today. They're just not seeing inroads that they were making in the previous 2 rounds.
Absolutely not, and so that's making life really, really tough. Dino Filippa, I think, can be very, very happy at what he's been able to do right now to hold himself at even. Camilo is at -2. Campbell and Moretto have been the profiteers of that. Little scratch of the head then from Dino as he tries to work on up the hill towards the heel of the boot. Turn number 8 on circuit. You try and figure out, okay, what do you want? Because turn 9 here, as we go to the group just in front of Moretto and Mamasi Rankin, turn 9 off camber. Very, very easy to underestimate this corner as we go back to Augustin Talashi eyeing up Felipe Dantas.
Still holds that 12th spot in front of him, but he's getting awful close, and we've seen a bad exit off this final turn could be hugely detrimental. So both are going to have to maximize right up to the wall, and they both do. So no one gains an advantage between the pair of them down the main straight. It's heavy braking then into turn 1. So easy to overshoot it because it's a pretty big drop right when you get on the binders.
It absolutely is, and this is one of the hillier circuits in the world of motorsport, and people don't often give it the credit for it. Augustin Talashi then has the lights on right now of just the screen in front of him as he looks to give absolutely everything here in a straight line. He's eyeing up this pass, gets himself to the door on the outside, thinks about it, but didn't have the overlap to chuck it down the inside, so he'll prioritize the exit out there, and he wants this drive, but he's not quite there. One thing to note about Thibaut Courtois Esports, it's not just an esports program, Joe. They have a big program to try and get their drivers real-world racing as well.
I mean, with this talent, I imagine it's sooner rather than later they're going to be stepping into a real vehicle. But how close is he getting through some of these corners? That has got to be nerve-wracking for Felipe. But he's been dealing with it very well. I didn't see him flinch, position the car in awkward places, and compromise his line. He's just been running his own race since we've been following this too. So that is a skill in itself, just remaining cool under pressure and not letting the driver behind you force you into mistakes.
There is Felipe Dantas looking behind there for Sabia Racing, and he will be taking a very, very close eye at this, going, right, okay, this is what I'm about, and this is what Talashi is all about. And I think he's got the understanding, if you get to within 0.2, 0.1, you've got to be very alert, and these drivers will have their in-game spotters on, and if they hear car on your right, you know you don't turn. If you don't hear the car on your right, you turn and you just hope he's not there.
Both of them down to the apex of one once again, looking to get that corner exit. Look pretty decent as we ride on board with the 13. And you can see how much that put between himself and Talashi, who just is too far away this time. He was so much closer last time up the hill. And so that is why it is so critical to focus on those corner exits. We call it slow in, fast out. Oh, but we got a little bit of side-by-side between the other Dantas and Lazendorf, and it looks like Dantas is going to come out on top.
Oh, not yet, because look at this. Around the outside, we could see a 2-for-1. Eric Goldner jumps up on the scene, trying to get there. The understeer, though, comes into play. Lazendorf crosses the beam back into the chute. There was next to no room. That was pixel perfect, trying to get that sorted. Flavio Dantas holds on, but the key there is that Flavio had to make it work, and he was bouncing all over the show. It was a rodeo. W2E Pro. Well, look at Eric Goldner, and he's a little bit calm about that. He would have said it's an opportunity, but it was only a half chance.
I'm honestly impressed with all three of them because Eric was fully alongside. I thought the momentum meant that he was at least going to get one position out of it. Credit to Leandro for managing to retain that P15, but Flavio Dantas, the one at the front of this trio, is in a similar position to his twin, having to play a rear guard and try to keep them off of him. Let's see what he looks like coming out of the final turn as the brake lights light up. Then he gets on the gas, brushing the exit wall of the final corner.
Giving it absolutely everything. If you get to the last lap, you've got a chance to chuck it down the inside. Some call it the Michael Conti corner from back in the day, but I would be turning around and saying, okay, what more can I do to get the climb? Because I'm keeping a very firm eye on Gustavo Ariel. He's in and around 8/10. He always finds a way to get it to 6/10 under slipstream, but then Xander Reed just turns the screw through the second half of the lap and says, look, you've got to try and hold on to what I'm capable of, and just keeps him away at an arm's length. Battle back in the pack now, starting to form itself up along this main straight. Felipe Juliato still looking for a way past Victor Veloso. This one for 23rd. Look at the way they travel.
Have to stay single file down through the inner loop. Can sometimes get yourself a good slingshot here and surprise them coming into the chute, but doesn't look like that's going to happen this time. You can see how quickly you have to change sides of the track in some of these corners. There is a lot of weight transfer that happens. Managing the body language of the car is such a critical aspect of being fast around here, not just because of those direction changes, but because, as we've been talking about, there are elevation changes all scattered throughout there. So the car is going to behave in very specific ways. So you better have done your practice here.
Look, Gustavo Ariel, calm as anything as a member of Verstappen Sim Racing. He knows what he's got to do here in terms of his role and responsibility. Just keep on booking the points, keep on making that gap larger and larger to those behind in the championship, and keep that focus firmly forward on whether you can book your place. I would be taking a very firm look at Xander Reed in front, saying, yeah, that's my benchmark, that's what I'm trying to reach. But at the moment, I think Gustavo Ariel realizes you can either play short-term or long-term. I think he looks at this as the perfect long-term strategy.
Yeah, he doesn't seem too fussed if he doesn't manage to get that win. So we check back in with Xander Reed. Again, just doing an amazing job jumping up from the Carrera Cup here to the regionals, where he wasn't able to take the win at any point in the Carrera Cup, but has already notched one up at Sebring and is looking like maybe he could do it for a second time here. So really kind of stamping himself as, I'm not going to play second fiddle in this Coanda team. I am a major player. I am here to win.
Well, he very much is. We know he's here to play the game because the cap's backwards. That's the way it always works. If the cap's backwards, you know you've gone and you've got all the concentration level. And the level that he is showing today, he had the perfect start. He's now just broken a second and is wanting to continue on that for 16. We look back to Fidel Moreira, who seemingly has been right involved in it all day, still with Goldner, but the charging Neto Nascimento, we know he's very good at making a pass and pouncing on mistake.
Up 3 from where he started is Neto. He's next on his list, got Eric Goldner to try and overtake as we check in behind them on Resenda and Wing. Resenda is up 4 positions. Again, most anybody has been able to overtake so far in today's race, which is surprisingly little for a track where it is possible to try and make passes. It just seems like there's so small a margins that nobody's been able to make a difference over these 11 corners. We're going to ride on board with Wing here as he continues to chase on Jackson up the hill. Looked like a pretty good exit. I think he'll start to gain a little ground.
Yeah, so he's going to be very much looking at this, going, right, I want to try and find my way up. He's in the Stars and Stripes, is Noah. He's had a little tangle earlier on in the race, but he wants to get back at Jackson Resenda. This is what he's been trying to do for the entire race. Chase on back to a car in front. Give yourself the opportunity to find that move, and in the final stages, just uncork everything, because you've got nothing left on the table. He knows how critical the move is. Miami will be on the mind, but Noah Wing, for the moment, realizes, I'm not close enough yet, give me time.
Well, time's not on his side, unfortunately, because he's only got 5 minutes to go. And with how long the laps are around here, a minute and 3/4, you're only going to get a few of them left to try and make the move. So wherever you like, wherever you feel you're strongest, you really got to be on top of it these last final laps to try and get those positions. And unfortunately, with them being this far down, it's not going to mean much in the way of points as we watch him travel off of turn 9 once again. Didn't look as strong from Noah that time.
No, it very much didn't, and here's a point breakdown for you in terms of how they score. They score all the way down to 25th, where you get 1 point. You get 1 point increment up until you reach 60th. That's 10 points that you get. It's then 2 point increment all the way up until you reach 7th place, 28 points. Then it's 3 point increment up till you reach 3rd, where you get 40 points, 45 for 2nd, and 50 points on the offer for a race win. So it does pay to get your points, and it does pay to get some very big points. And you might think, what's 1 point out there in terms of this race with 4 minutes to go? Well, it actually means a lot. And there in the background, there is Noah Wing trying to get that move as we follow on through. He's trying to go to the outside to go and get it sorted back for the inside. Oh, that's a lovely pass. Jackson Rosenda had nothing for it.
Do you see both of his front wheels in the air? He clobbered that curb, and he's showing a little bit of damage on the front of the car too. So I think Noah Wing has been getting into the thick of it in this race. So he's used up all of his equipment and maybe a little bit more as we come back to the fight between Mamasi and Moretto. You were talking about Gabriel just needing the results. It looks like he's decided, okay, I've got the results, and now he's starting to pick it up, and he's putting a bit more pressure on the number 4 to see if he can peel that top 5 position away. Let's take another look at that moment I was talking about, Jake, with those 2 wheels in the air.
Right, well, this is absolutely huge, and this is where he is on the outside. Rosenda jumps up in the air, and then that forces that second curve. Look at that. Boing, boing. That's 4 wheels in the air. He had no control of that car through the middle of the corner and just had to hope he was going to keep that in place, and he's managed it. Now we look to the battle for 5th with 3 minutes to go or 2 laps to go here in this race. And I turn around and say, between Hadino Mamasi and Gabriel Moretto, both of these drivers on the outside looking in, both of these drivers have to pick and choose this battle very carefully.
Boy, do they. Mamasi is going to have to try and weigh, is it worth fighting hard if he gets aggressive? Do I want to just get a result here? Same thing with Moretto. Do I want to try and get that top 5? What is the risk versus reward? Can I afford to have it go south if I try and take that risk? And more than that, it doesn't look like they're really on top of the Coanda cars anymore. So it's looking more and more like it's going to be a battle between those two unless you get a serious mistake out of De Jong and Rankin, and those are rare.
Yeah, and it looks like, Joe, they've been saving their tyres really, really well. They've given themselves the platform to chase what was 1.8 down to 1.3.
Good point on that one. So, yeah, maybe some of that gap that we saw was a little bit artificially inflated by that tire management. However, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get them anything because they don't really have enough time left. In fact, it's going to be close on whether or not we get another lap here.
Yeah, they crossed the line last time with 3.5 minutes to go. They're doing 1:45s at the moment, and so keep an eye out where the line is. Barney is waving the white flag of 45.8. They will pretty much cross exactly on 30 minutes as they look to finish this one out. So big old scrap's going to come into play now for the final positions. What a line by Gabriel Moretto. He goes all the way out, looking now to search for any form of overspeed. Up through the S's, 2, into 3, into 4. The fringes of a draft for Mamasi from the clutches of Elvis Rankin. Is that going to be enough to save him here? Moretto peeks out to the inside, trying to make his Blue Mercure Porsche wide, but the Grid and Go Porsche in yellow and blue does not see any movement. Why do I have to worry if you're moving about there in the background? I'm fine going through the outer loop now and over towards the chute on what is the lesser run part of this Watkins Glen circuit. Final places now need to be put into perspective, and gaps that have formed now are starting to see themselves shown. For this 5th place, Harry Noah Mamasi is trying to hold it down through the toe, and now running along the sole. Back to the heel of the boot they go. Climbing up the hill, though, is Xander Reed, and he's starting to find form here in his Porsche 992.2 at a time where he needs it the most. A time where he can say, with 2 rounds to go, I don't have to worry as much about what everybody else is doing behind, because he is turning around and saying, I might be one of the big contenders for this championship. I've kept Ariel away. I've gapped Mitchell de Jong. Xander Reed, absolutely faultless here today at Watkins Glen. He got absolutely everything. Pole, fastest lap, the full shebang.
Wow, lights to flag. And you think about that start as well, how everybody came down into that first corner. Him keeping his cool really paid huge dividends, getting a good launch, not allowing any of that fighting to cost him. Meanwhile, you can see the battle here to the line between Resenda, Molina, Tacarmo, and Giuliotto is going to see Molina come out the front of that group with 21st. As a little bit of congratulations between the teams up at the front as Ariel giving us, you bested me today.
Absolutely there. That was a great chance, and that, of course, as well, is your Mobile One winning moment.
Fantastic stuff all around from everybody. We only had that one incident at the start that we saw. And other than that, clean racing behind him. And not just clean racing, but pretty hard racing from what we saw, Jake. I mean, nobody was going easy here.
It was hard racing, it was clean racing, and critically, it was respectful racing out there as far as that goes. Some wonderful action that has been put into play. And so we're going to take a little look then, moving on to your Trilux move of the race. And this was what we called out as this had to be hard fought to go and get it. Neto Nascimento having a look, picked up on the advantage there of the mistake from Fidel Moreira in the number 20. And critically, how hard do you want it? Because you think, oh, okay, you're just on the outside of turn 1, Joe. It's easy. He had to work this all the way up the S's and then had to confirm it at the top of the hill.
It was a 4-quarter pass, essentially, for him. And as he even got the curb. I didn't notice that the first time. You can often unsettle the car a little bit if you're not careful in some of those parts. And then on top of it, he's not done yet. He had to go ultra defensive to try and retain it. Just all around spotless pass in what is a very difficult style of overtake.
It is very tough. Once you make the pass, you've got to cover it off as well. And I think that's the key to a move like that. And that's why it's your Trilux move of the race. Xander Reed, though, at .996, gets it clear and does it in 30 minutes and 1 second over Gustavo Ariel. Mitchell de Jong third ahead of Elvis Rankin. Hadi Mamasi, Gabriel Moretto, Sean Campbell there with a quiet 7th. And Francisco Camillo will take some very well-respected points in 8th place. Dino Filippo is 9th. And Dalton Zabadil rounds out your top 10, split by 10 seconds, believe it or not, over the end of the race. Rodrigo Abrao is then in 11th ahead of Felipe Dantas and Augustin Tolashi, who was a little bit involved in the lap 1 incident. Flavio Dantas there in 14th with Leandro Lanzendorf and Fidel Moreira, the hardline cars, 15th and 16th. Eric Goldner then ahead of Neto Nascimento with Noah Wing 19th and Jackson Resenda then rounding out your top 20. Final 5-point scorers, Daniel Molina, Bruno De Carmo, Felipe Juliato. They're all very close together over the line with Victor Veloso and Achilles Giannissis there in 25th, leaving Esteban Adriano, William Augustine, then as the last two who would not score points. And then you've got Ralph Benitez and Louis Schirmer as those two who got themselves involved in the lap 1 incident and out of the race straight away. So a big amount of battling to go with. Joe Peak stood by, though, with your race winner, Xander Reed.
Xander, you won the first one at Sebring. You won the third one here at Watkins Glen. And I wasn't able to be there for the second. Do I need to be here more often to be your lucky charm?
I hope so. It seems to be working pretty well.
Well, on a more serious point, though, you ran practically a perfect race today. Fastest lap, started from pole, led every lap. I mean, how do you improve on that?
I'm not sure, but I'm going to figure out a way.
It seems to be kind of going your way momentum-wise. You know you got to be in the top 8. So going off to the final 2 rounds, you've kind of laid the groundwork in the first 3 races. With it being such a short season, do you keep that push? Do you relax at all? How do you approach these final 2?
We keep doing the same amount of prep, keep doing the work. Just, yeah, can't thank the guys at Toyota for all the hard work every week. It's been pretty good.
Well, I can't commend you enough. It really was impressive, especially being faster than Gustavo, Mitchell, Elvis. Nobody seemed able to touch you. Relish it.
I will.
Xander Reed clearly worn out a little bit with not a lot on that one. But Jake, it looks like you've caught up with P2.
I very much have, and Gustavo Ariel is here with us now, and I hope that he can hear us here as he's there on his phone. Gustavo, well, goodness gracious me, what a day you've been able to have, and it started right from the very drop of the green flag. Get the run to the inside, elbow out on Mitchell, elbow out on Elvis. You had to fight to hold that second to begin with.
Yeah, you know, we already sending message to the team on the phone, talking about the race and how we can improve for the next one, right? Because we always do that. It's always a constant improvement in this kind of championship, because you cannot stop developing. So, yeah, I mean, it was a really good race. I think we improved quite a lot in the setup stuff. And of course, on the start, the strategy was to pass Mitchell as soon as possible, because I know both of them been driving in the Americas Championship really well together, 1-2. So I knew it. My chance was on the start, and I could do it. And the question mark later was just if I can keep up with Alexander. I think it was really good, because we have a little bit of dirty air in these cars now, and use a little bit of the a little bit of my off tracks to keep up, and he was using as well at some point. And yeah, it was good. I mean, I'm happy with the result. We are on pace now, and hopefully we can fight for wins again in the next round. But I'm really happy with this improvements for sure.
You talk about dirty air being a factor, and that's coming across over the spoiler and making life a little bit tougher to follow than maybe what we've seen previously. At what point do you look at that gap and go, okay, I'm not really making a dent into Xander Reed. How much do I want to, back it off a little bit, preserve my race, score my points, and look to consolidate for a top 8 place?
Well, we had 17 laps, and we have 17 incident points. And I think the only place I got some off tracks on T1 exit. So when I was approaching 9x, 10x, let me back out a bit and save my incident points for later, and never know what's going to happen, right? So I think it was lap 10 or 11. I was just trying to get my points. I'm a very competitive person, right? So it's difficult to accept P2, but the main goal is to qualify for PESC now, is not to win a qualifiers race, but it's good points. I'm happy with that, and Alexander did an amazing job. I congratulate him, and yeah, I mean, I just want to say a big thank you to all the Verstappen Sim Racing guys for all the support they've been doing. They've been developing quite a lot last week. So yeah, it's nice to talk with you guys here. So thank you so much, and yeah. I want to say a big thank you to my girlfriend as well. She's supporting me the whole week as well. Between practicing and all our birthday, my birthday was on Tuesday, and she turned. She's birthday was on Friday as well. So it was quite a busy week of celebrations, but I could do my practice in the right times, and I could develop the car and finish P2. So I'm happy with that.
Well, go be happy. You're part of one of the greatest teams in sim racing, and that was a very great performance. P2 for Gustavo Ariel there as part of Verstappen Sim Racing. Joe Peak has taken a wander down the virtual paddock. He's here with Hadi Nurmamasi.
Hadi, you came into this one 24 points below the cut line, so you needed a good result. You got it today, but how did that affect your racing? When you had pressure from Moretto, was there a temptation not to fight too hard? We can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself there, Hadi?
Yeah. Oh, is that better now?
There we go.
There we go.
Now we
Sorry
got you.
about that. So yeah, I was just came into this round thinking, well, just needed the top 5 in quali to get the extra points from starting in the top 5 and then just finishing in the top 5. It's more than good enough. It's only sort of another stage of the qualifying part, really. So just looking to get in the top 8 by the end.
Yeah, I can understand having that sort of mentality. Well, again, this will do you no harm in trying to get you up the order. Hopefully, we'll get to talk to you in next time's race.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys.
Hadi Noah Mamasi finishing in 5th today, Jake.
Yeah, and having a wonderful drive of it, and this is what it means for him. He's not in the dance, but what it has meant between him and Gabriel Moretto is that they move up into the first best outside looking in with 2 to go. Augustine Tolashi still in the dance right now in 8, but it's a 1-point game, and Dino Felipe's not that safe at 5 ahead, and neither is Miguel Costa then at plus 13, not here today. So ultimately, opportunities around, but Xander Reed, barring anything dramatic here, you look around, he's 112 points to the good. By my maths, he needs 8 points to guarantee his place in Miami.
Yeah, I think that these drivers are going to be very, very focused from here on out because these first 3 races have sort of made their bed. So you kind of are in the situation. You got to dig yourself out of it. Or if you're up at the top, you got to try and make him do what you've been doing, as we heard Xander Reed say, as we watch him come into that first corner and then never relinquish the lead.
Absolutely. On August 8th at 7 p.m. GMT, 3 p.m. Eastern, we head to Don Shula Drive and the Miami International Autodrome for the 4th round of 5. And how critical will that be in the context of a championship where the top 8 make their way through? Well, this is normally the place where we say you've got to go bowling, and often the most chaos comes through. But today, chaos came from neutrality. In result, Xander Reed gets his job done here in the Americas region. Stay with us here, though, for racing action, because we have got MEA on the other side of this.
Experience the world's most legendary racing events with iRacing. iRacing special events allow any member to compete in full-length multiplayer races based on some of the biggest events in motorsports all year round. Compete in virtual endurance races, such as the Daytona 24, Spa 24, and the Nürburgring 24 Hours. Take on some of the toughest races on the NASCAR schedule, such as the Daytona 500. We have events from disciplines all across the racing world, from the Indianapolis 500 to the Chili Bowl, from the Bathurst 1000 to the Crandon Championship. Our endurance special events utilize iRacing's team feature, where members can sign up and race together on their own team, swapping drivers throughout the race. Other events utilize iRacing Super Sessions, where you're not only racing against those on track, but against every driver taking part. And as every race progresses, watch and feel the track change with progressive time of day, dynamic weather and rain, and dynamic track debris and surface changes. Take on your favorite discipline or try a brand new racing challenge with our biggest races of the year, the iRacing Special Events. Learn more at iracing.com/special-events.
Victoria Park, the 16th park of 25 that surrounds Victoria Square, the administrative centre of Adelaide and South Australia. Welcome to the Adelaide Street Circuit, which for time immemorial has been a place where legends are made and heroes give it absolutely everything. It's the stuff of legend today here in the Porsche Esports Supercup as the Middle East and Africa region hit the midpoint of the season and say, right, how do I stand on song? I'm Jake Sperry, that's Joe Peak, looking to bring you through all of the coverage. Joe, Adelaide is a special place in my heart and for so many different sim racers around the world for what this place has meant over the years in the many categories that have raced here.
Yeah, just some legendary moments to happen at this track, and it is punishing. It is one of those circuits where you can't afford to overstep the boundaries, so I think we'll see some drivers earn their worth today. I think it's not going to be about who's just the fastest. It's going to be a bit of a game of survival as well.
A street circuit is always difficult, and we are going to see how that is going to play over the course of action, but they all have to try and book one of 8 places, and how they do that is through this format video, which will tell you how.
Welcome to the Porsche Esports Supercup, the virtual one-make series with some of the fastest drivers in the world, where every lap matters and every mistake can end your season. With all drivers in the same car, tackling the same conditions, an exciting format, a brilliant prize, and the chance to make the jump from the virtual track to the real one for a full season. There are 2 ways in: official Porsche National Championships and Global Open Qualifiers, where 4 race weeks will decide who rises, with the fastest drivers advancing. The Regional Championship will be comprised of races across 4 regions. Drivers go head-to-head across multiple rounds, but only the fastest move on. Drivers will compete across 5 full race weekends, but at the end, only one driver can claim the title of World Champion, along with the cash prize. From this pool of drivers, a select few will be chosen for the next stage. The talent shootout is not just another test, it is a chance to prove you belong in real-world racing. Here, every corner counts. Every decision is judged, and only the driver with the speed, composure, and potential to step into a real race car will stand out. Is that you?
Well, it could be you, and it could have been any one of them here around Suzuka. It was ultimately a game of patience in terms of how you needed to construct your race. And Joe, I think the key around Suzuka, such a technical circuit that managed to basically test every part of a racing car as you go around it, basically force the drivers to go, right, this is going to be where we separate wheat from chaff.
I mean, it literally was a test track when it was built. So yeah, it does have a wide variety, and drivers will often describe it as a driver's circuit. So I think what we saw during the race was a lot of drivers racing the track, not each other. It was trying to avoid those mistakes, keep the speed up. It's so easy to start to lose your focus around here and start to lose the speed. And we saw that ebb and that flow, as well as some drivers who were quick at the start started to be caught towards the end, and we got a really great fight down to the finish.
We absolutely did, and critically, it had to go down to the final corner. Werner Sherman then was the one who was trying to do his level best to hold defence out there in the number 9, as it was 2 from 2 for Patrick Kessel. He would have a huge smile on his face on the result, but critically, on that fight, it would have been the last corner stuff at the Astamo chicane to get it done for Jack Johns, who will be someone who will be grinning ear to ear on the result that he was able to go and get. You can see it now, had to go to the outside to get it done into that chicane. Just pinches well on the inside of the curb, gets the drive out, and Sherman, I think, is going to be a little bit unfortunate that he found himself missing out on that final run.
Yeah, as we watch it here, critically watch the car placement, gives him enough room to the inside. It was even on the outside when the contact was made and comes away with it. That's rare that that happens, and he was on the positive end of things as we take a look at our 10 drivers that have taken part so far. Unfortunately, 2 that missed out last time, Jake, they're now under the gun.
They are by 10 and 24. No Mohamed Al Rustam here today, but Mehdi El Fati is back to try and challenge, so he'll be looking at the tied points of Shivesh Bassoon and Oliver Heasley to find a way through. Patrick Kessel foalless at the moment and just trying to hold that all steady and into a position where you can say, right, that is a pretty good start to what we're looking at over the course of this season, with Dylan Allen third, with Ruslan Hamidulin there in fourth. But is this a case of same story, second verse? Is this the sort of run where we say, well, if Patrick Kessel can go back to back, is he looking around and saying, well, I've got 3 more races to add to my Infinity Stone gauntlet?
I mean, it's very much a Kessel run right now. He has got the momentum on his side. Everybody's got to focus to try and stop him, which I think is going to be difficult. We've seen so far, there's nobody even close to touching him at this stage. So they're going to have to dig deep. They're going to have to really go back, look at the data, and see what they're missing in comparison if they hope to have a chance. Because right now, if I was to place money on anybody, it would definitely be on Kessel.
It absolutely would. Now, we go back to that final chicane at Suzuka. We know that it is a hot pot, an eye of the storm, so to speak, for controversy. You just have to go back to Senna Prost back in 1988 for that. But is that something that we saw there with Jack Johns and Werner Sherman? Do you think that there's something there that's brewing between those two, a rivalry sparking?
I mean, based on what we saw in the interviews last time out, yeah, there's a little bit of rivalry. I'm hoping they've worked it out since then, because from what I've seen of it, I feel like Johns didn't do anything wrong. He was on the outside. He was fully alongside the car. He had earned that space. I don't know what else he could have done other than dive off the track if Schumann felt like he needed more room, because that's all really that you can have in that situation. But the one thing that I do love with these sort of things going on is when you get that rivalry brewing, it makes it a little bit spicier out on track. And we as commentators love a little drama.
We certainly do love to drink our tea, so to speak, when it comes to all of that, and we will absolutely be seeing a whole heap of that as we'll take a look at your Loctite race analysis here. They've got half an hour on the clock available here in South Australia. It's a standing start. There are no planned pit stops here to this race, but this might be the sort of circuit, Joe, that we sit down in and go, look, it's a street circuit, it's tight walls. We might see pit stops from drivers who have a bash about at some of the corners.
Yeah, I mean, you can get your car repaired here in iRacing. You don't want to have to do too many repairs or else you'll run out of time in the race. But if you can, I'd say with the lower number of cars out on the track, it is absolutely worth it to get the car repaired, get back out there, and try to get a result. As we now take a look at our TDK track analysis, Adelaide Street Circuit, only 2 miles in length. It's somewhat of a shorter track. This is, of course, a shortened version compared to how it first started. Does have 14 turns, and there's a number of them that are extremely slow. That said, it can be tough to try and overtake here, even with a few hairpins to try and help you out. It's been around since 1985. It's mostly known for the supercars this day, even though we've seen Formula One race here. But I believe these Porsches will be right at home.
The Decaturville hairpin is the best place on the circuit to go and get an overtake done. You also can look then at the likes of Wakefield Corner Turn 4 as a great place. And you can get on track with us here on iRacing. Brand new memberships are 30% off. You can scan the QR code to learn more as well. You can go to iRacing.com/membership. I'd implore you, now is the best time to go and jump on in and join us here on iRacing for all of your running. But there is going to be so much to go and give yourself here in terms of opportunity as far as this track now is concerned, because we now know that this is going to be one of the harder fought races that you will see at a circuit that demands respect as you go around, and a few drivers couldn't get their lap in the way they wanted to in qualifying, Joe, by the measure of the fact that they really struggled out there with the track limits. Funny to say that at a street circuit, but a perfect TDK pole lap here for Patrick Kessel from Cape Town in South Africa, absolutely throwing it in through the centre chicane, out of turn 3 and onto the run then over towards Wakefield turn 4.
Yeah, this is one of those tricky corners because, again, quick switch back and forth, and not just here along East Terrace, but also along Flinders Street. Don't have any time at all, and it's all these 90-degree corners. This is the one you got to worry about. Turn 7 off of Hut Street and onto Bartles. You've got to get a good exit. It's narrow on the exit, then it opens up, and the drivers will be trying to get position. Watch out for the Brabham Straight, because the kink at turn 8 will likely be pretty single file. You can see they're right on the edge of grip as they come through there, and there's no room. But then you talked about the good passing zone here at the Decaturville hairpin. From there, it's a lot more technical corners until you get to Foster's, so you might as well try and set yourself up for that next run, next lap.
Yeah, and then you've got the final couple of corners, these passing lefts and rights, and the final big braking zone. If you hold yourself steady, you can get yourself through and say, right, this is what I'm all about. Drive it with aggression off of the Mistral hairpin and then over to the line. 16 turns here around this layout of just a shade over 2 miles as far as it goes. Well, it's going to be a case of what can they do, and what an amazing run qualifying is going to prove to have been, because as far as they stack up, Patrick Kessel's got his pole position, but he's got Dylan Allen alongside for company with Ruslan Hamidulin there for NL Racing in third. Kessel, new team for him. He's now part of Ronin Sim Sports, so as part of the iRacing silly season that gets earlier and earlier with drivers all switching teams. Jack Johns finds himself in 4th with the Panda City Esports driver Werner Sherman there in 5th place behind. Mehdi El Fati, the last of the times put in on the board, then in 6th with Avesta Gabadi unable to put a time in for Veloce Academy. Oliver Heasley then in 8th. He just hopes someone wins there from his 8th position. And then Shivesh Bassoon then in 9th, also not offering a qualifying time, but knowing that he has got a great chance available. As we take a look then as they go their schedule, they've got a very, very quick end to this one here, Joe, because they've got Okayama, which is part of iRacing's base free content out there, so everyone should know that one very well. And then the open out brawl that Phillip Island will bring.
I love when series go to Phillip Island. It seems to always manage to put on an incredible show. It is such a hard track to race on just because it has so many unique and difficult corners. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of this schedule and the way that they've put this all together for the MEA.
Absolutely, and there's actually something quite unique about this Adelaide street circuit in terms of how they go from a standing start, because they don't here have the stagger that most grids do. It's quite Australian. You don't see it at Mount Panorama Bathurst, but you do see it here at Adelaide. First and second go exactly equal parallel off of the grid as they get ready to go. So it means that you have a much weakened advantage compared to being first than you would have done, say, at Suzuka 2 weeks ago. So there is a big opportunity now on this start for Dylan Allen to get a strong run, and there's going to be a heavier priority on how quick you've got to go at this start. Everybody is up on the grid. Time is ready. Light sequence about to start. Round 3 for the MEA region of your Porsche Esports regional qualifiers starts now, and it's a good start from the second and the third rows there. Oh, there's contact from the third row between Sherman and Mehdi El Fati. They'll run themselves into the centre chicane, and Kessel's going to get the run. Allen ends up jumping over the curb. He's got a slow down penalty, and he's got to get that served quickly on the opening lap as they dive into Wakefield corner at turn 4. Kabaddi in the background making big moves early.
Yeah, El Fati got 2 spots in that first corner, and he almost lost one there as we watch the leaders try to stretch away. Looks like Mehdi has managed to hold on to that P4. Sherman tried to see if he could sneak in there, but you could see the number 2 of Dylan Allen trying not to lose Kessel, as for the first time they're going to be going through turn 8 in anger.
They are. Allen's got the slowdown sorted, and there is a big old weave out then from Mehdi El Fati, and now is looking for a really good run. Now here comes the chance into the Decaturville hairpin. To the outside goes Sherman, trying to go and make this work. The middle in watches on, as too does Avesta Kabaddi, who's not made any places off of the start, but would absolutely want to here. Pushing through now, and back into Victoria Park they go. This is going to be very, very close quarters. Top 2, well, say goodbye to them. They're gone already, and already troubles for Oliver Heasley on the opening lap. He's down in the pit, and that is a real shame for him.
Track position is king around here, and I think Jack Johns is illustrating that very well. Look at how backed up they keep getting into the corners. They all want to try and overtake, but nobody seems to be able to get near enough to try and get the moves done. I think there was a little bit of change between Kabaddi and Kamadulan as they swapped around for that 6th position. They'll switch back and forth now through 4, 5, and 6, but everybody's going to be focusing on turn 7. There's a look around the outside by Ruslan there for a brief moment.
Yeah, definitely look for it. Oliver Heasley just had a box full of neutrals, couldn't put it into gear off the start at all, and just had to take the toe out. That was his troubles then in the early start of his race, and as such, his day run before anything can even get going. Here's a look with Avesta Kabaddi, knowing that he's given himself a lot of work to do down into the hairpin. He sees very deep on the brakes in front of him, Werner Sherman here, and he'll try and work now through the race course, 12 to 13, now into 14 as they come back off of the Wakefield Road once again, and you're looking now at, okay, how much do I want to make this move? Because this is a street circuit. You're not just gifted moves here, Joe. You have to plan them. Sherman on the aggressive factor wants a pinch at Mehdi El Fati.
Werner thought maybe he had something in that, but look at him switch back, seeing if El Fati is able to leave the door open. Nope, he's not going to be beside him as they have to go through the 6th again, but a big mistake from Mehdi has put him into the wall, and that is one of the big issues that you have to worry about here. Little mistakes become big ones.
The center chicane strikes. He gets too much over the first curve. It unsettles him for the second, and it chucks him in the wall for turn 3. Mehdi El Fati could have ill afforded that, being on the outside looking in. Suddenly, he's all the way back to 7th with Shivesh Bassoon. No mechanical meatball flag, so the car's okay to continue, but that was scary, not just for him, but for everyone else chucking themselves in. Here's a look in slow-mo, and this will indicate it. Look, one tyre goes up, and just as he lands back in, he gets a massive influx of grip, Joe.
And this is a big, big hit. I'm kind of amazed the car is in as good a condition that it is. It's funny to see the comparison of this to what we saw with the car going 4 wheels off over at Watkins Glen in the North Americas. It shows you how skilled you have to be when you get some air like that, because the car just can bounce in a bad way. And speaking of bouncing, the bumpers are certainly getting their use today.
They certainly are there. Jack John slow. Sherman almost into the back of Vestakabadi. Did make contact there through the final corner. And so now they'll try and work out, right, what do I want? How am I going to put these positions in? And where am I going to find my way up through the order? Very much a case now of Jack Johns having to focus on that position. And I'll tell you what was impressive there, and it might be our move at the race here, Joe, for Trilux, was the way that Ruslan Khamidulin was just able to avoid it. Big lop of wall for Jack Johns there. You saw the sparks coming out as he clobbered against it here and runs along Bartels Road for turn 9 and onto the Brabham Straight.
Oh, he's awful close here. Werner's going to want to try and see if he can get something done. He's going to look for the over-under and doesn't quite get the momentum, but he did a very good job staying tied right to the rear of John's car, although he goes wide, and now he opens it up for Gabati. You got to watch out when you're that 3-car pack. An attack can easily make you vulnerable to the car behind.
Vestakabadi then sees that and realizes, I don't quite have enough here to get the pass on Werner Sherman. Sherman does not know what the word give up means. He gives absolutely everything into each and every single section there, and I think Vestakabadi is realizing, I want to prioritize my race today. I want to know what you've got, what my opponents have got, because I've had 2 second places. I've only run up near the front. I only know what Patrick Kessel's got. If anything, I look at this from Vestakabadi, this is probably reconnaissance work.
We're only 6 minutes into this race, and already Jack Johns has been having to deal with a lot behind him. It's going to be a long race if these 3 cars are all actually quicker than that number 4 machine. They're having a tough time making the pass, but that doesn't mean that they won't get opportunities. Jack is going to have to be absolutely perfect, as there's a little bit of a brush against the wall with Ruslan.
Ruslan Khamidulin then joins the back of the group, and Jack Johns has been the cork in the bottle. Look at Werner Sherman try and go to the outside here, looking over towards turn 13. Doesn't get the run and immediately has to come back to cover to defend here. This is what we would call being in the firing line out there, because you just have to look up, down, Gabati into the back, and somehow is able to wad it up under braking. That's what Khamidulin was looking for. The stunt driver out of the UAE gets himself 1, could get himself 2. Now, how brave does he want to be with Werner Sherman? I think wisely he lifts out of it.
It was Gabati, the one doing the stunt driving there with a wheel out into the grass as he's trying to stop. I'm kind of amazed that even with 1 wheel in the dirt, he still managed to woe it up and keep the car pointed the right direction. These drivers are starting to get a little bit antsy. This is one of the things where if you're in this situation, stuck behind a driver like Johns, you can't let yourself get flustered. You have to remain cool and make smart decisions in the moment.
I argue they are now not stuck behind Jack Johns. He's got a 1.3 second advantage. That is exactly what he was looking for. Chaos to make the breakaway.
Yeah, you make a really good point there that this has worked well to his advantage. This is what he needs to really calm down in this situation, be able to focus on his own race. It's probably about the calmest that it has been for him. Definitely not as calm as Patrick Kessel. 3.5 seconds up the road. There's the distance between himself and Allen as we saw this long shot. I mean, that looks massive, and we're only 8 minutes in.
It's 4 seconds in 6 laps. So he's done an absolutely wonderful job as Patrick Kessel, getting the gap over Dylan Allen, and he has been really working hard. And that gap will now go to 5 seconds because Dylan Allen has had a slow down penalty, his second of the day over at the center chicane, and you've got to be careful about picking them up. We talk about incident points not often at a street circuit, but this is the sort of thing where Dylan Allen is trying to chase down a gap and he is not finding a way to make it happen. 17 instant points is a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, they are in effect here, and like you said, there's some spots where you can rack those up at this track. You tend to, in these street courses, worry more about the damage on the car, but if you're pushing the limit here, you can get a wall strike here, a wall strike there. And remember, those are worth 2 incident points. So you add that into maybe going a little bit far in some of the spaces where there are grass or there are paved runoff, and suddenly, next thing you know, you're being forced to go down pit lane as we come back to this fight for what is now for 4th place, because like you said, Johns was able to separate himself a little. They've reeled it in a little bit, Jake, but it's not right on top of him yet, at least.
No, and what will also be interesting is there are 2 drivers in this field, and it's the 2 ML cars that have spotters here today helping them out. Dedicated spotters for it. So Jack Johns has Liam Connery helping him out. Ruslan Hamidulin has Archie Lovetts in his ear trying to help him out. So that's going to be something else. Having someone there with you, giving you a little bit of a world out there. Werner Sherman right now, under pressure here, really trying to fight through. He looks like he is wrestling that steering wheel right now. He looks like he is under a lot of pressure, and he shows it by the way he's driving.
Yeah, that is one of the more intense looks I've seen from sim racers in quite some time. I'm also amused that his shift lights correlate to LEDs on his headphones, which won't really help him all that much, but they certainly look neat for the viewer as Werner comes around turn 8. Nice job to keep off the wall and also far enough away from Avesta, who has just been hounding him for quite some time in this race, making sure that he cannot relax that pose that he's got.
No, absolutely not. It is the stiffest driving pose I have ever seen out of a driver. But if it works, it works. And so you can't, I would say, correct something that is there and working. I mean, it's very much a case of, say, for example, turning around to it, Werner Schoeman drives the same way that Mo Norman swung a golf ball or swung a club.
I was going to say, I'd call it the Frankenstein pose, the way he's kind of leaned towards it.
Oh,
but
we got trouble. Mehdi El Fati, sorry, main straight.
No.
He's just had himself in the wall, out of the final stages, black and orange mechanical flag, out of the race. And I think he's done it before that with the damage he's got on the front. I'm trying to find exactly where he's run into troubles, but it's obviously a little bit too much.
So he's really our first victim. I know Oliver Heasley has not been out there, but he had some issue at the start of the race that he was not able to take part. So he's been sitting back in there since the beginning, but now Mehdi will join him. Unfortunately, he's having to sit and wait as here it comes again. And this time, Jack Johns makes a mistake. Schumann, Gabati both sneak through in one corner.
Yeah, 2 for the price of 1. It's a perfect bargain. El Fati, by the way, it was turn 13 where he got that wrong, caught the outside wall, and that has just tipped him over the edge on that. But Jack Johns sees those 2 places go. He'll go from 3rd to 5th, and now Sherman fighting for a podium again, having to be aggressive in defense again. Avesta Gabati right now, he's going to have to lean into a lot of karting experience. Out there is Avesta. He represents Iran. He lives currently in the Ukraine, and he actually has been a karting champion out in the Ukraine. So he goes to the outside, looking to try and go and find a move. Oh, turn across the nose. Big contact for Sherman. Sherman straight back onto the power, looks to cover it. There is no quit in his dictionaries. He tries to fight here, and now back into play to Midland and Jack Johns. Watching on, Johns thought I had a chance, it wasn't there.
Got into the side of him. How damaged is Werner's car, though? Because he hit the corner into the wall. That's going to be difficult if it's knocked the steering out at a track like this. Behind them, Camillin and Jack Johns are now starting to go at it for that 5th place. Johns, with that little bit of contact, lost some speed, leaves the door open, but Ruslan is not able to get the pass done. In a single lap, that whole thing just absolutely blew up.
Well, it's a case of what is it going to take at a street circuit for you to turn around and go, right, all bets off, I'm going to go for it. And it takes drivers with ego to say, I'm not going to give this up, I'm going to keep fighting for it. Sherman doesn't know how to quit. I think Adi Gabati's a driver who wants to go out there. He knows what it takes to race in high-pressure situations out there in the world of sim racing. And then you've got everyone looking to set, but here comes another chance at it again on Wakefield Road. Over to Wakefield Corner at turn 4. Again, it's not there. Here's a look. A lap ago at trying to get this sorted. Gabati there on the outside. It's then a case of what can you do? Tries to work the long way around, and there's just overlap. And it's so easily done because it's in the grey area of the iRacing spotter.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's understandable in this situation, but little consolation for Sherman, who just kind of was wrong place, wrong time, wouldn't have known that that car had just enough overlap and was trying to take the corner. But the good news is that Schumann and Gavati still running, although we got a little side-by-side back there between Johns and Kamidlin once again. Johns holds on to it. He's already gifted those spots to Sherman and Gabati. He doesn't want to give another one away. Speaking of gifts, though, if I could just give a quick happy birthday to my wife, who is turning 37 today.
Yeah, got to thank the wife. Werner Schoeman knows that. Got to thank the wife. It's in his notes to us. Got to thank the wife. And so he knows very well. I've got to thank my wife as well, because my 1-year anniversary of being married is coming up in about 3 weeks' time. So I've got to say thank you to my wife, actually, there for saying yes to me eventually and ultimately getting married to me. But Avesta Gabati says, I want to be married to this 3rd place. But Werner Schoeman, this is textbook defending here from Werner Schoeman. He is making life so difficult. You then got Johns and Kamidlin. And I wonder if these teammates have got to get on song here and go, right, we've got to stop battling here, because if we do, we got 3rd on the line. If we battle like this, we're only going to think about 5th. Gabati is all underneath the spoiler through every corner, and he just can't get a run onto Bartels Road.
I do love the chutzpah that Avesta has here. He is not shy and has been racing hard all race long. He gains very well in the braking down to Dequetteville hairpin. So we'll have to keep that in mind, because that could come in handy later on if he gets close enough to try and make a strike. So we've got a battle for 3rd, and then we got a battle for 5th, as what was a 4-car fight is kind of split off into pairs.
Joe, Werner Sherman has hit the wall out of 13 on the last 2 laps.
Oof. That can come back to bite him. Unfortunately, he might not have to worry about it, because he's going to have to go side by side coming up to the center chicane. He's got the inside into the corner, and he just parks it at the apex. Gabati can't do anything with it and has to back out. Nice placement from the 9 car.
Now, dare I say this, Joe, all aboard the Sherman shuttle bus.
Well, I mean, last time it was him and Jones. This time it's Gabati. Let's see what it winds up being at the very end. The chicane is at the start of the lap instead of the end this time. So how does that affect it too?
Yeah, that is also very true. So there are differences to be had. Avesta Gabati can't get the run then. Out then onto Bartels Road. They will have turn 9 to deal with next, and it is the toughest corner, 230 kilometers an hour. You chuck it in through here, find your mark under braking again. They start closing in. A little look behind there as Johns and Kamidlin both take a little look around at each other, saying, look, this is what we've got. And there is Sherman right now, face of determination that he is. Avesta Gabati's like, yeah, of course I'm driving like this. This is just calm and everyday. Sherman defending again. Outside line is trying to be. Doesn't quite get the run that he needs. Johns gets a tap as well from behind from Kamidlin here. But they're working back onto the main run once again. To the center chicane. No room here. It's single file.
A little bit of an exhale there from Schumann as he came off the corner. Now he's having to really defend coming into turn 4 at Wakefield. Round the outside. Room is left this time, and it looks like he's going to have to elbow his way through. Gabati is now up into 3rd with that one.
Oh, and Jack Johns bashing against each other like Hill and Schumacher at 94, sorry. Ah, there goes Johns, bang! Kamidlin over the top of the nose. Massive moment for Jack Johns, and that is going to write him out of the contention for the podium there. And we thought something would have to give. Johns was being uber aggressive, tried the outside, and then the rears just let go and said, you're out of time.
For John, sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the kangaroo, and today, unfortunately, he wound up just being shoved off to the side of the track. He lost a lot of time trying to recover it. It's not easy to get turned around here. He needs to make up 12 seconds, which I can almost guarantee you is not going to happen. And then there's also the question of whether he has any damage on the car that may be slowing him down. Let's take another look at it and see how this happened. Oh man, what a great run by Avesta off of that corner. Just kept his foot in it, found the traction, and that's what got him the spot.
And then Jack Johns just jumped on Sherman. The mistake then through Wakefield. Oh, and then they just bash against each other then as they head on to Flinders Street. And then you just get out on that curb, you think you can hold it on the power. Jack Johns is the sort of driver who knows about the experience of driving. He actually teaches drivers over at the Yas Marina circuit in the United Arab Emirates out there. That's his day job. And ultimately it goes wrong for Jack, and ultimately he gets Jack out of that battle, and that's a real shame that goes on through. So now suddenly Vestigabadi clear by 1.8 seconds here. Sherman looking behind Ruslan Khamidulin here. We got 10.5 minutes to go, and all the while here, I do want to point this out, we still have 7 runners. Shivesh Bassoon, give him a little shout out at the moment here, Joe. He's just quietly gone about his business, and he's just going to quietly see the points. And a day like today, a 7th place, this might be the result that gets him in the darts.
Exactly. You got to just keep with it. I said it at the start. A lot of this is survival, and that's what he's doing. He knows what his pace is. He's not overstepping his boundaries, and he's managing to come home with a decent result. Speaking of that 7th place, that's where Avestas started this race, from row 4 to up onto the podium. This has been a great drive by the number 1 car.
It's been an absolutely fantastic drive, but this number 3 car just knows what he is all about. Patrick Kessel has walked away again from the front, and he's walked away to the tune of 10 seconds at the front of this pack. And I think he's looking around at this one today going, well, my main rival's Vestigabadi. He's not put a time in. Yes, he's up to 3rd, but, well, he's absolutely nowhere compared to where I am. And he'll be turning around looking at this going, well, yeah, these will feel like practice laps for me. This is an understanding of the circuits, how I've got to get myself prepared for a week. Surely he's looking at this, and he might have, of all the 8 or all of the 32 qualifiers that eventually make their way in, as we look at Ruslan Khamidulin, he might have the easiest qualifying path of anybody.
It's been such a rough race that it looks like he's even knocked his camera down a little bit. So he's, I mean, that tells you how much he's been bumping and banging around out there today. Still a top 5, but not exactly, I think, the result he was looking for on that. For Patrick Kessel, I think this is going to be telling for me, especially once he transitions up to the Esports Supercup, because yes, he's all on his lonesome. Yes, it seems like he has control of this, but a driver who never relaxes and just continues to push and tries to get the most out of it, to me, is going to find success, especially when he's up against some stiffer competition if he advances up. And I think that's important to see, that he's not taking this and saying, I'm just going to keep a 3 to 5 second gap this entire race. No, he's pushing this whole way and running the pace that he can to try and find the most out of it, because he knows he's going to need it if he steps up to the next level.
Well, you know, you look at it right now in a race like this, Joe, as, again, Khamidulin gets to the back of Sherman, not close enough to go and make this pass right now. You know, if you were looking at this from an Americanized sports perspective, you would accuse Patrick Kessel of running up the scoreboard at this moment in time. Oh, I'm going to win by, 12 seconds. It could be a lot more than 12. It could be 15, 18, 20 by the time things are done. But he has to, because this is him trying to say, look, I've got to go at 10 tenths here, because if I don't go 10 tenths here, how am I going to go 10 tenths against 31 other fantastic drivers?
Exactly. That's what I was saying. So he's doing the right things here right now, if you ask me. He actually, I think, is getting relatively close to lapping Bassoon, and that's how fast a pace he's been running as we take a look at his onboard camera. 7 more minutes to try and bring this one home. And the other thing that we have to remember, he's been making transitions this season onto a new team. So he's been focusing really well. Sometimes those disruptions can maybe cause you to lose a little bit of focus, have things to get adjusted to. But it seems like he's just been doing what he's got to do, and even gives us a little bit of a knowing look here on the stream.
Absolutely. He was a part of Maniti Racing, which would have been Manuel Sudo's team, who you and I both know, Joe, fantastic character out there in the sim racing paddock, very intelligent team owner and driver. And now Patrick Kessel moving over to Ronin Simsport. Obviously here, it's done nothing wrong for his preparation. He's going and getting everything he wants, and he's saying, look, I am absolutely 100%. but he is still having to fight. The way he had to fight there over the curb, I don't think he's pushing, he's stopped pushing. Dylan Allen, though, I think he's been the quiet driver. I don't think he's ready yet to be, the world beater. But give him time to just learn, to understand, give him the right tools around him. I think he's got all of the tools available to be a really, really good driver. He's kept himself there at, 1:17.6 on that last lap. He's only half a second a lap slower than Patrick Kessel.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of noticing too. If you take the average time out there, it's not been doing too shabby. And you have to remember, still second quickest in his region. That is something to tout out here. Hopefully he can use this and maybe try and find that little bit more speed. But that is where the drivers need to really watch the data and try and find it with all the little bits of information. Fastest lap out there, look at that, 0.3 of a second difference between them. You're 0.3 of a second off of the fastest guy in your entire region. Doing pretty good.
At one of the most underratedly technical circuits that iRacing has in its street circuit caliber. Adelaide is one of the newer ones and one of the tougher ones, as you take a little look right now at what I'd never expected to see in a half-an-hour race. Lapping process that's happened. Shivesh Bassoon has been lapped right now by Patrick Kessel, and he has been walking through. But you talk about this in terms of a circuit that is difficult. If you want to talk the street circuits here on iRacing, you've got this, you've got Mount Panorama, you've got Belle Isle, you've got circuits out there like St. Pete, which is brand new outlet to the iRacing service. Adelaide sits as a quick circuit that offers the high-speed quintessential street circuit style feel with a road course feel. And you can get onto that by scanning that QR code and getting on track with us on iRacing, where there's 30% off of a brand new membership, Joe.
Exactly. So if you're watching this and you haven't tried iRacing, now is a perfect time to try and experience an authentic motorsport racing game. And I mean, iRacing goes to the nth degree to bring the realism out in this. We haven't talked about it enough, how the track is changing underneath these drivers. We've mentioned the temperatures. That all changes. You've probably noticed that the lighting has changed. That's because those clouds are all dynamic above them, and there is a real weather system that is ongoing. So definitely check it out. If you love racing, trust me, you won't be disappointed by what iRacing provides.
And Joe, let's talk about that realism for a moment, because in-sim date is exactly the same as it is today, 25th of July, and we're in the southern hemisphere, which means at 4 o'clock in the afternoon just gone, we're at sunset, because it's winter, and the track's 21 degrees Celsius. If you're thinking about it from a realism standpoint, the date and time work that is done on iRacing that puts realistic track weather conditions out there for these drivers to go and race in, that they would do if they were there right here, right now in the real world.
I mean, both of us being from the Northern Hemisphere, I think visiting an Antipodean country during our summer sounds fantastic right now, but we'll just have to put up with the virtual version for the time being. As looks like this is about the only close fight we've got left in these last stages. Schumann cannot rest on his laurels because Kamidelen is still within striking range if there's a mistake from that number 9.
And you have to talk about the grit of Werner Sherman here in the way he's gone about it. Kamidelen has not slouched. He's not let go in terms of what he wants to get. But Werner here has turned around in that number 9 Panda City Esports car and has gone, right, my Porsche 992.2 is going to find another level, is going to drive a little bit stronger, a little bit harder, a little bit faster into each and every corner. And he wants a buffer zone. And even though there's 2 minutes left in the race, he has not stopped trying to build that to confirm and consolidate that 4th place.
Yeah, credit to him of all that he's been through in this race. It's been a lot more excitement than I was anticipating out there. Certainly, Jack Johns kind of helped kick a lot of that off with him holding up cars. 2 laps to go. This is about the calmest it has been the entire race. It has just been frantic at times.
It's been a very, very frantic race, and a lot of that has gone down to how hard you've had to defend out there. Patrick Kessel has seen none of that. He built the margin. He covered the opening corner from Dylan Allen, and he said, right, I will see you in the deuces, basically as his comparison. Working well then through up into turn number 8 now on track and really giving everything that he can, and he's working with everything he's got. There is the lapping process as Dylan Allen puts one on Shivesh Bassoon, working then onto Hutt Street, and where the track, before it was paved over for pedestrian access, Joe, you used to run up and you'd go along Rundle Road and you'd have a long drive along to Ketterville Terrace. Now they take the cut road here at Bartles Road, and I think as a caveat and as a cut for that, I still think it's really, really amazing to see that Adelaide hasn't lost any of its character for it.
Absolutely. Even though, like I said, it is the shortened version, it is still tricky. It is still tough. They did a very good job of bringing it to where it needed to be for the supercars. As the white flag is out, it is 1 to go, Jake, for Patrick to make it a hat trick.
Well, Patrick Kessel knows and understands. He has driven an absolutely faultless race here at the front. Every mark he has looked to hit, he has been on song and ceremony, nary a wheel out of place as he works himself then through turn 5 to turn 6. Behind, though, Sherman is right up against it now. Middelin has closed that gap down, and suddenly he's trying to go to the outside to get it done through the Mistral hairpin. Doesn't quite get enough of it, but now needs the drive here to the centre chicane. We'll keep an eye on this one all the way to the end of this race. You see the damage on the front from Ruslan Middelin, as he now really wants to work this one, really wants to find a way at Wakefield Corner to go and get this move done. Defended by Sherman on the inside through 4, and he'll have to do it again at turn 5, and this time he's got the coverage to take the line exactly how he wants to. 6 and 7 here comes along next from Flinders Street to Hutt Street as he will look to try and get and continue on his battle. Final corner in the bottom right corner of your screen for Patrick Kessel. He says it is 3 for me as he gets that one sorted without so much of lifting a finger out there. Allen will be second, Gabati will be third, but for 4th, does Hermidlin have a dive into the Ketterville hairpin? He's in a mile deep around the outside. Can he get the rotation? No is the answer to that. Joe, I think Sherman only needs to hit his marks now for the Mistral hairpin.
He's saying not again. Oh, almost into the wall there by Ruslan. But remember, this was what happened last time, having to defend at the end of the race back at Suzuka. And Werner is gonna manage it this time. Nicely done. Well done to turn it around compared to his experience just a couple weeks ago.
Well, that will give something for the confidence boost there for Werner Sherman. He had to earn that 4th place out there, but this will be for Patrick Kessel, 3rd time in a row. He gets his Mobil 1 winning moment.
I think now they've got to start asking themselves who can stop Patrick Kessel, because he's just been on a tear, and we saw that gap 13 seconds in the end over everybody else. Just unbelievable pace from the 3 car.
Yeah, he has just pretty much walked away from this field once again. He has just proven that he has got outright pace and he wants to use it over and over and over, and he will not rest until everybody else in this region is pummeled to submission. Your Trilux move of the race though here, and this is going to take a whole lot of organisation, because it's not just the move of how you make a pass, it's how you avoid almighty amounts of contact. Take a look at this with Mehdi El Fati here as he worked himself to the centre chicane. He had the big moment, but it's Hamidlin, last one in the line. Cool. How on earth do you avoid that?
Just an amazing job. Let's watch from on board. They always say go where the car is not, or go where the car is, and they won't be there, and that's just about what he has time to do. In fact, he's very close to brushing the outside wall, trying to avoid that incident. So it's a lot trickier than you'd think, trying to find your way around that car. Yeah, you can see, he thought, okay, car's not there. Well, guess what? Now it is. And last second avoidance.
And then to get it slowed up just to make sure that he could get it through turn 3 and onto the Wakefield Road. That was critical. It is a winning margin of just about 13 seconds for Patrick Kessel over Dylan Allen, as Avesta Gabati had to fight hard through the field to get himself to 3rd. Werner Sherman big on the defence today. Staves off Ruslan Khamidl in the 4th and 5th battle. Jack Johns, with his spin, will be a little bit upset about the way that went out for him. He had a great chance today. Shivesh Bassoon will take 7th the lap down, but he's continuing to score the points, as out of the race would be both Mehdi El Fati and Oliver Heasley, who could not get off of the start line after getting a bag of neutrals to go out and get there. So an absolute slew of amazing racing in many different ways out there as far as they've done. We're about to jump in and get some drivers in and around to talk with us. Joe Peak down with your winner, Patrick Kessel.
Patrick, first of all, an impressive victory here today. But secondly, we were kind of theorizing that it looked like to us you were pushing hard that whole race, even though it was a big gap. And I said that it was likely because you knew there's going to be even stiffer competition if you move up to the next level. Is that accurate? Are you thinking about that during these races, thinking I can't rest on my laurels?
I mean, I think if I let go of my concentration here and I don't go flat out, I'll probably end up more in a wall than if I do. And I mean, it's always nice to get extra laps in with this car for obviously the final, even if this track isn't there, just to get more familiar with it and how it works over the bumps, stuff like that.
So trying to avoid a Senna situation of not backing off and binning the car, I suppose. But how did you feel about coming to this track? Because it's definitely different, very different from the first two.
To be honest, I did not want to come here whatsoever. The first chicane is extremely random, and then mixed with the fact that you have one qualifying lap, so you can't even really get the tire temps into the tires. It was just... I wanted to get this week over and done with as fast as possible.
Well, you made it out the other side. That then begs the question, how do you feel about Okayama as well? That's a track that most iRacers on the roadside are probably pretty intimately familiar with.
Definitely, I can't wait to drive a open track again compared to this. Yeah, I mean, it's nice and flowy as well. It's quite challenging at bits. I haven't really driven it that much, but definitely looking forward to that.
Well, we look forward to seeing how you handle it. Again, we were amazed with the speed that you showed today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Patrick Kessel was your winner, and he was followed home by Dylan Allen, or excuse me, by Ruslan. Up next, who finished in 5th position. Khamidl found himself having to fight a lot of cars, especially right there at the very end. Ruslan, did you think you had anything for Werner? It looked like you were absolutely sending it on the last lap.
The pace was coming and going. I think I was a little bit affected by the damage with my teammate. Unfortunate situation. I'm happy that he got to battle. But I was trying, and I was telling my spotter, I'm going to try and give it all I have, but ultimately it wasn't enough, and congratulations to Werner.
And then talk about the middle of the race as well, because that group just seemed like a hornet's nest out there. At any point, did you think, maybe I should back out of this, let it sort itself out, or were you all in?
I'm, in general, just a very timid wheel-to-wheel racer. I think that served me well in the past. A lot of the times I just wait for the guys in front that are overzealous to be too overzealous, let's say, and give me the position the easy way. And I was kind of waiting for that, and it didn't happen in the scale that I wanted it. I think I wanted 3 cars. I got 1.
Well, I guess beggars can't be choosers. Still a position gained on that front. And congratulations on a top 5.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
It's Ruslan Khamidl finishing 5th. This side, we do have our 2nd place finisher, Dylan Allen. Dylan, what's your takeaway from this race? Because Patrick obviously pulled a pretty big gap. Are there things that you feel like you can come away learning or improving upon?
To be honest, I think, yeah, there's quite a few things I can improve upon personally. I think consistency and just practice. I think it was a good result, but I don't think how I raced reflected as much. I think next time out in Okayama, and then obviously we have the last round in Phillip Island, I can improve a lot. But I feel like I could have made the best of a better situation today with Ave starting at the back.
Yeah, that's a good point. You definitely gained some good score from finishing in second. So how does this make you feel about the rest of the season points-wise? Is the goal from here just to try and run down Kessel? Are you satisfied with your points position, or what are your thoughts, essentially?
I mean, if we're all racing drivers at the end of the day, if you can think you have a shot of a win, take it. I think, yeah, I want to give Kessel a bit of a run for his money towards the end. But we'll see. I mean, it's a lot easier said than done. Patrick's just on another level so far this season, and I think that's going to continue. But who knows? Maybe I have a good week and we do something a bit special.
Yep, never give up, never surrender. And credit to you for getting another podium. Hope to see you at Okayama.
Thank you very much.
As Dylan Allen finishing P2. Well, Jake, definitely some drivers I think that came away with maybe a little disappointed from what we heard, but definitely Patrick not one of them.
No, I think he'll be very happy that he's pulled the gap down to Avesta Gabati to just 5 points with 2 races to go. And he will look around and say, right, we are right up on the level, and saying, how do we book our places? Suddenly, with all of that drama, the gap is 8 between Oliver Heasley and Mehdi El Fati. So that gap's come down a little bit, but we know with the pace El Fati has, Joe, this might be something where Oliver Heasley has got to turn around and go, okay, this was the best possible bad race I've had. Now I've really got to get it into gear.
Yeah, he has to watch over his shoulder. And Mehdi also, I think, needs to take lessons from this, and that maybe he needs to focus on his consistency, because the mistake today cost him what could have been much more. A couple mistakes, we should say, as he winds up finishing in 8th. He could have had so many more points and actually be in that top 8 right now.
Yeah, I'd argue he should be on pace, but we don't race on paper. We race on track, and that is the key, especially to where they're heading next, Joe. A circuit where everybody knows the iRacing service to race around here. Okayama International Circuit. It's held 2 Formula 1 Grand Prix. They were both won by Michael Schumacher in a Benetton. This is a magical racing circuit and one of the best places to get all the fundamentals sorted on iRacing, which you can see on August 8th.
Yeah, it really tests you. There's a lot of technical portions of the lap, and it's a track that I think if you've become familiar with it, you should hopefully have good results. Like I said, with it being base content, the drivers should have had practice. Now it's going to be finding that little bit of edge over your rivals.
And that edge is going to be key. As we can see, there'll be Okayama and Miami. What comes up next for us, we'll be back at Adelaide with APAC, Asia Pacific then, but also Europe. We'll be heading to the circuit, the Barcelona Catalunya, the dyno test of a racing circuit that will be there for them in just 7 days' time. For your Porsche Esports Supercup running, you can join Arjuna and the gang for that, as far as that one will all set. But it's a day here where one couldn't get off the line, one ran away from the rest of the field, and the middle decided we're going to have an all-out brawl here at Adelaide. It was a wonderful showcase of racing running, but the story remains the same. It's Patrick Kessel, it's a gap, and it's the rest of the field. He's dominating, and 3 from 3 as he got it done today at Adelaide.